So your uncle,
yes,
Major Humphrey Chukwuka, was one of the majors who planned in January 15th, 1966 coup. I don't expect that you were born then. You were not born.
no,
Yeah,
not
of
at
course.
all.
Of course. But what do you know? What do you know? Tell us a little bit about him. And did you meet him? Did he talk to you? You know, who is he? What is he like?
Very strong man. Privileged to have that. Was my father's first, the number one, first son. Very strong man. He had his beliefs. But when you're around him, you got to be very, very disciplined. One of my, when I remember and I think about him, he's passed now. By the way, Babangida was His Excellency, former President of Nigeria, was his kind of boy. And he told us that he taught Obasanjo how to drive.
He taught Obasanjo.
Obasanjo, yes. Him and Obasanjo were the same clique. You know, went to Sanford for their training. And by the way, when Obasanjo came back to be the president, civilian president, I saw firsthand because myself and one of my cousins kind of tricked my uncle, which is unheard of. That Obasanjo wanted to see him. Then he just won the primaries and he was coming to Enugu. So we wanted to get my uncle to see, you know, his friend he's been telling us about. So we told him that Obasanjo called and wanted to see him at the airport. So he believed us. Don't worry, I'll go for another confession to the Pope after this. But it was a lie. But we were in contact with one of his people, his assistants, so he was aware. Obasanjo didn't know either. So we drove my uncle, myself, and my cousin, who might be watching this, to the airport, Enugu Airport. I can't forget that. We came in, of course, you know, when the president is coming, then he just won the primaries. So they secured a place, nobody was allowed. Of course, with the military men. But when my uncle got to that door, he did whatever the military does, right? For some reason, we saw the guy, the military man, march like fall backwards, had it saluted him, and we moved it. That's how we got into that place.
So they knew him.
He just said something in military terms. I don't know. I'm telling you what I saw. I was behind him. He said it so fast. What we saw, the military man, took a salute because he was, again, that day, I've forgotten the name of the guy. He was a captain during their time. So the four of us went in and sat. Obasanjo landed. As soon as Obasanjo walked into the room, he cited my uncle. He screamed his Igbo name. Didn't call him Humphrey. He called him Iwuchuku. Iwuchuku. And hugged my uncle and lifted him up. I mean, Obasanjo might see this. I'm telling true life story. Lifted it up. They chatted, laughed. And my uncle left us, went with Obasanjo because Obasanjo put him in one of the cars right away. And that day he traveled with him back to Ottawa, right? Wherever he's based. I'm confusing that with the city in Canada, but you know what? Ottawa Farms.
Ottawa
Farms. You know, in Canada we have Ottawa. So
yeah.
So the Ottawa Farms, he left with him, the same flight. So that was for me not just an uncle. You know how parents will say during our days I was the number one in class. Everybody claims, and you're asking who was the last person. I've not seen a parent that agreed they were the last. So, but that incident showed us firsthand that what he has said were true. They were really good friends, and he taught him how to drive. That was the claim of my uncle. So he was quite an interesting man. Loves to laugh. People don't know that about him because if you see him outside, he doesn't do much of that, but he loves to laugh. And he loves to play with us, you know, when we are kids, but he gets serious again. So yeah, that was one of my good memories And I have stories like that with him, you know.
When I was a young reporter in Lagos, one of the stories I looked for was an exclusive interview with him, and
Yes.
I traveled to Enugu to interview him. I actually met him.
Yes.
And spent almost 3 hours talking to him, but he refused to talk about the war. He said no, he won't talk about the war. He won't talk about the coup.
Yes.
He didn't. Do you know
No.
anything about it? Did he tell you anything about it?
Anybody that tells me they went to meet him and to ask, I say good luck when he was alive. Never heard him speak of, the Biafra, whatever. He will make general statements, but will never give you details. The Coup, when you have the opportunity to talk with my dad, because he was living with him in Lagos in the barracks when that happened. So he might have some stories. And again, I'm one of the youngest in the family, so I will leave it for the elders when you have the opportunity. I know some little things about, stories that were told in preparation for that, without them knowing it was in preparation. So when I'll leave the honors to my dad, who is over 80 now, if you get that opportunity to speak to him,
I will invite him on the show, or whenever he comes to North America. We will get that done.
Yes, but it was some when sometimes you wonder what happens in the minds of the military people. With my uncle, I saw some things, because I've seen this guy take the guns while driving, and you know how our police, we do the stop, and they wouldn't know it's him. Before you know it, you see the gun in the car, the rifle in the car. And then he will get down and say something, whatever they say, and you see the policeman and take a salute, and he will now teach them how to carry the rifle. They're carrying it wrongly. So I've seen some crazy things like that. It was quite interesting and privileged and honored for him to be an uncle, blessed memory. We lost him just a few years ago. Yeah. No. But he was a strong man till his death. I can tell you that. Very, very strong. Very, very strong. That's why I believe that when you meet Nigerian military that are trained, they are well trained. You meet Nigerian policemen that are trained, they are well trained. Yes.
Now, as Chukuka, like the story you told about encounter with Obasanjo. So, yes. In that your last name is Chukuka, does that come about? Do you go anywhere that people will remember there was a Chukuka that was part of this coup that changed the country? Is that a factor anywhere in your story in Nigeria or outside Nigeria?
I think I've more name that has been known in my generation has been my father, because of his role in the religious circle, more than actually my uncle, probably because he refused to tell those stories himself. So yeah.
Did he write?
Not that I know of. Many have tried to. I know many. You were just one of people that tried to never. The nephews and nieces, sometimes we bring up and we want to know we're all, and he will just tell us other stories and walk away from that one. My cousins that were very close to him, I asked them when he died, did he ever? And I think he didn't, even with them. The ones that lived close, their parents lived close to him in Enugu those days. Because at the time we moved out to Onitsha, and we will see him in Christmas. And Christmas you don't bring up, you're just catching up. So, but those ones had the privilege going to his house when he's come. They will ask him, he will wriggle out of it. He's a true military man. He went to the grave with most of those stories.
when he died, did the military do anything? Did those old friends, was there any kind of because I didn't even know he died?
Yes, because he had an instruction. Again, that's the kind of man he was. He had an instruction to be buried right away. Yeah, he gave those instructions, and it was followed to the latter. Yes. So I didn't even get to see him when he died. I was in North America. We had were crying about it, and the next day he was buried. He was one that lived a very calm life, by the way, because when he was made colonel by, I believe, Babangida, when Babangida came up and, called him and made him a colonel, because that was his boss, right? And but he lived a calm life. I mean, apart from his training, if you're in the same room with him, you wouldn't know he was one of the majors. Yeah. Unless something happens, or maybe a gunshot goes out. You know how we hear gunshots in the East? I remember the last event I went with him, it was my uncle, maternal side. And you know how we go for, so we were going, and my security, kind of, how our people do it, let out guns. My uncle, that was, I think he was in his 90s then. He quickly, and my dad tapped him and said, undo twice, undo twice. I should have told him that was going to happen, but that's just who, in his 90s by then. He took the position to, to kind of take care of us, because that's who he is.
So that might be post-traumatic distress.
Yes, yes. In Nigeria, we don't believe in therapy. Like we discussed earlier, some of this shouting and all that is just the environment we grew up in. If you don't shout, your voice is not heard, and you think that's the normal life, but it's not normal. But because we don't believe in when somebody said they're going for therapy, you say they are crazy. Come on. Yeah, so yes, absolutely, that could be.
Now, your father was bishop at Isukuato, the first bishop of Isukuato diocese.
Yes.
He's now retired, and he was known for planting churches, which is something you have continued to do. How is he doing in retirement?
He's gotten more busy. I mean, preaching and training. My father is unique because normally the bishops retire at the age 70. He retired 2 years before that. And his belief was that the administrative part of being a bishop has kept him from doing what he really loved, which was training and investing in people. And so he took an early retirement, and he's been doing that with my mom ever since then. So investing, training, and raising people. He's the reason why, and I must say, where I am today and where I'm going is the investment. You see, I always tell people this, and I learned this from my parents, the best gifts, and I want to speak to pastors that are listening in now, the best gift you can give to the next generation are your children. Not the people you pastored. No. The people that live with you and you raise them, they are the best gift. And you cannot give that gift if you don't spend time with them. So my dad was in the habit, what you heard me saying earlier, that we do, I do in my family, I have a culture of breakfast, everybody talking, dinner, everybody talking. My dad had that habit, that tradition too, where he was so busy, but we would get in dinner with him at least once or twice in a week. And he let us speak our mind, but with respect for each other. We call them unwritten rules of the Chukukas. And so great of what I've not even gone half of the things he has continued to do, because he's still investing and training. He loves to train people. These days, I just beg him, Dad, you're over 80. Can you sit down as you talk for 3 hours? Just pouring out yourself. Just sit down and say, yeah, every now and then I do, But he's still pouring out himself to people, and they love him for that. We love him for it too.
So you are still with the Church of Nigeria?
Yes, I am.
And there have been so many crises within the Church of Nigeria, the Anglican Communion, even fights where bishops are fighting in North America. So looking at this, and because before people used to say that I don't know the English version of that.
Mhm.
That